Now releasing all goblins.
This video is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc. If you're looking for cards in the US, look no further as you can use the promo code MTGMUDSTA to get you 5% off anything on the site. Or if you're in Canada like me, you can use the same promo code at Multizone to get 10% off your orders of singles. If cards aren't what you're looking for, Original Magic Art has playmats, tokens, and sweet art that you can use that same promo code to help you get 5% off your order there. If you're looking to bling out your cards, using Alter Sleeves is a great way to do so, and you can click the affiliate link in my About section to help out the channel as you make an order. And if you just want to help out the channel, you can always consider becoming a patron for as little as $1 a month and join the generic Goblin Gang. This video is also brought to you by the upcoming Kickstarter for Cube-A-Majig Series 2. Cube-A-Majigs are reusable booster packs for Magic the Gathering, Cube, and trading card games. Series 2 upgrades to the previous line, including cleaner seams that prevent packs from bulging, they're pre-made, and they have 30 pieces of gorgeous custom art, made by some of our favorite Magic artists. Be sure to check out the link below for more information. Hey gang, and welcome back. Today's game is another featurette with the Jersey Boys. With Ryan playing his Locust God deck, keeping Sinister Sabotage, Counterspell, Mountain, Island, Makokoro Center of the Sea, and Aftershock. Mike is playing Gisela, keeping a Mountain, a Plains, Chandra Awakened Inferno, Staff of Nin, Act of Authority, Cryptolith Fragment, and Wild Guess. Trevor is playing Meren, keeping Polluted Delta, Leyline of the Void, Verdant Catacombs, Forest, Exhume, Machias the Unhallowed, and a Cabal Coffers. Harry is playing Izoni, keeping Twilight Mire, Cultivate, Wilderness Reclamation, Pernicious Deed, Wood Elves, Forest, and Grizzly Salvage. Trevor wins the die roll and has a classic pregame effect, sneaking out the Leyline of the Void into play before starting this off for his turn. He plays a Polluted Delta and passes to Ryan. Ryan draws and plays a Halimar Depths, rearranging his top 3 as he passes to Mike. Mike plays a Mountain. Harry plays a Forest. Trevor plays a Swamp for turn and passes, cracking his Delta to go and find a Bayou. Ryan plays an Island, passing. Mike plays a Plains and casts a Felwar Stone. Harry plays a glared out Twilight Mire, passing turn. Trevor plays a Verdant Catacombs and then cracks it, going to find an overgrown tomb, putting it into play tapped and passing. Ryan plays a Reliquary Tower and also passes. Mike plays another Plains and casts a Cryptolith Fragment, which comes into play tapped. He passes, and at the end of turn, Harry casts Grizzly Salvage to try and dig for a land, but unfortunately doesn't hit any, revealing a Farhaven Elf instead and putting it to hand, sadly exiling the rest because of the leyline. On Harry's turn, he casts a Bloodcast and then passes to Trevor. Trevor plays a Twilight Mire as well, and casts Meren. Not liking this though, Ryan counters her with the classic Counterspell. Ryan untaps and plays a Makokoro, passing to Mike. Mike untaps and taps 2 mana using the Fragment, which has everyone lose 1, to cast a Wild Guess, discarding 1 and drawing 2. That card is exiled, and he then taps out to cast a Coalition Relic, passing turn. Harry untaps and plays his 3rd land. He happily casts a Wood Elves and goes to find an overgrown tomb, putting it into play tapped and passing to Trevor. Trevor plays a Forest and passes. Ryan plays a Mountain and then casts an Ashnod's Altar, passing to Mike, who activates the relic to put a charge counter onto it. Mike makes a red mana in his main phase with the relic, removing the counter, and plays a Reflecting Pool as his land for turn. He casts Chandra Awakened Inferno, who upticks to give all of his opponents an emblem which deals 1 to everyone on their upkeep. With nothing else, he passes to Harry. Harry untaps, losing 1 from the emblem, draws, and plays a Forest. He plays and then sacrifices the Caustic Caterpillar to destroy the Leyline of the Void. And then moves to combat, swinging at Chandra for 3. He passes, and at the end of turn, Trevor casts Shared Summons, going to find an Underrealm Lich and a Spore Frog, and then shuffling his library and starting up his turn. Trevor untaps, takes one in his upkeep from the emblem, and then casts a Ramunap Excavator in his main phase. This lets him replay the Polluted Delta from his graveyard, which he then sacrifices to go and find a swamp. He then casts Wood Elves, going to find a forest, and then casts a Spore Frogs, passing to Ryan. Ryan also takes one in his upkeep, and then plays a land in his main phase. He taps out for his commander, the Locust God, and passes as Mike charges his relic once more. Mike untaps, and in his main phase casts Descend upon the Sinful, exiling all creatures. This has Trevor responding by sacrificing the Spore Frog, and Mike then upticks Chandra again, giving each of his opponents a second emblem. Mike then casts a Mind Stone and passes to Harry. Harry takes 2 from now having 2 emblems, and he casts a Cultivate in his main phase, going to find a forest and a swamp, and puts the forest into play tapped, and then plays the swamp as his land for turn. He casts Pernicious Deed, and passes turn. Trevor also loses 2 on his upkeep from the emblems, and pays 5, and casts an Underrealm Lich. He follows up with Assassin's Trophy, destroying Chandra, and then plays a Bojuka Bog, exiling Mike's graveyard. With nothing else, he passes to Ryan. Ryan untaps and casts a Commander Sphere, passing it over to Mike. Mike untaps and plays a land. He follows up with Active Authority, which as it comes into play, exiles Pernicious Deed. Mike then tries to resolve a Heartless Hidetsugu, which gets Sinister Sabotaged by Ryan. Harry untaps and plays Svogoth, the Restless Tomb. He then casts a Mind Slash, and then a Reassembling Skeleton. He activates the Mind Slash and targets Mike, which has Mike revealing his hand to discard a card. Harry has him pitching Outpost Siege, and he then passes it to Trevor. Trevor untaps and loses 2 to the emblems, and then has the Underrealm Lich replacement effect, allowing him to look at his top 3 and put 1 card to hand and 2 to the yard. In his main phase, he casts See the Unwritten, revealing the top 8 and putting 2 creature cards into play because Ferocious is active. Unfortunately, he only finds a Woodfall Primus, which as it enters, takes out Harry's Mind Slash. Trevor then casts Exhume, and each player gets to bring a creature card from their graveyard back into play. Trevor chooses Disciple of Bolas, while Ryan has no creature return, and Mike brings back Heartless Hitsugu, and Harry gets the Reassembling Skeleton. As the Disciple comes into play, Trevor sacrifices the Woodfall Primus, triggering both, gaining 6 life, but instead of drawing 6 cards, he gets to look at his top 18 in pairs of 3, keeping 1 and binning the rest. The Primus then comes back from the Persist trigger and destroys Mike's Cryptolith Fragment. Trevor then lastly casts a Phyrexian Plague Lord and passes it to Ryan. Ryan untaps, and each of Mike's opponents continue to lose 2 on their upkeep, and Ryan is no different. Ryan then recasts the Locust God and plays a Steam Vents, which he has come into play tapped. He moves to his end of turn, and Trevor sacrifices a creature of his to give the Heartless Hidetsugu -3/-3 and takes it out. He then passes, with Mike putting another charge counter onto his relic. Mike untaps and counts up his mana in his main phase, adding a red from the charge from the relic. He casts Acidic Soil, continuing to dish out damage, and follows up with a Reforces Soul, wheeling the table and making Ryan 7 insects. Meanwhile, Trevor gets to look at the top 21 of his cards in 3-card increments, keeping 1 and binning 2. With nothing else, Mike then passes. Harry untaps, takes his 2, and casts a Springbloom Druid in his main phase, sacrificing a land to go and find 2 more. He's not done though looking for lands as he casts a Kadama's Reach, going to find 2 more, 1 for the field, and 1 into hand. He follows up, casting Life from the Loam, bringing back a forest to hand, and then plays a Temple of Malady, which comes into play tapped, and scries 1, which he bottoms. Moving to combat, he hits Mike for 1 with the reassembling skeleton, and passes it to Trevor. Trevor untaps, taking 2, and resolves the Lich Draw trigger, keeping 1 of his top 3, and binning the 2 he doesn't. He casts his own copy of Ashnod's Altar, followed by an Eternal Witness, bringing back Living Death from his yard. He then casts the Living Death, and with the spell in the stack, sacrifices his own creatures to the Ashnod's Altar, floating some colorless mana. And Ryan responds, cycling a land to draw a card. And then sacrificing the Locust God to his own altar, making some mana. Trevor then puts all of his creatures from the yard back into the field, and demonstrates several combos, including but not limited to blowing up all creature permanents forever, as well as tutoring up Triskelion with the Runescarred Demon, which will provide him infinite instances of 1 damage when comboed with Mikaeus. The table knows when they're beat at this point, and scoop it up to Trevor. Game review time. It's unfortunate that Harry's Izoni deck didn't do anything. I've seen her played very rarely, and even rarer still, her actually do anything, so it's kind of a bummer. I do like that Mike seems to play the same type of hate cards for everyone whenever he plays any kind of deck. He sticks to a lot of red, with punishing cards like Acidic Soil, Price of Progress, and Mana Barbs. I kinda love his decks for it, and it's always a treat to see on screen. Trevor was able to win with Meren without actually having Meren on the field, which is something I rarely see. She's often used for such crazy amounts of value. It was pretty sweet to see him be able to go a different route this time, and I think the workhorse of his deck was definitely the Underrealm Lich. Being able to replace his draws by going 3 cards deep each time he drew a card was huge, and it allowed him to fill up his graveyard so fast with that wheel. Ryan's deck did a decent job of being defensive, but unfortunately he ran out of counterspells just as he needed it the most. This video wouldn't be possible without the help from my sponsors, Cool Stuff Inc., Multizone, Original Magic Art, and Alter Sleeves. But it definitely wouldn't be possible without the help from you, the viewers, and my patrons. So I just want to say thank you for watching, and to remember, friends are just opponents you haven't eliminated yet.